Here we are, guys. Day number 5, I think. Yes, August 5th and 2024. We are going to be doing the same gear as all month so far, and for Austere August, using the same stuff all the time, including even the blade, which had over 500 uses before we started the month. So that's why I call it Sugar Daddy's Nightmare Mode. Sugar Daddy's Extreme Nightmare Mode, which is a take on the Mr. Too Nice Guy's Extreme Nightmare Mode, which he was the one years ago that during the Austere August was like, hey, use the same blade for the whole month. And so I took a riff off of that. The brush is the B13 knot from Declaration Grooming, been soaking for a little bit. The handle is from Dogwood Handcrafts and Briar Brushworks, and it's a hybrid put together in by Steven there. The scent across the board in the soap, splash, and cologne is the Midnight Stag from Chiseled Face. This is the older label, and we are almost about done with this soap. So this old label is going to go out of activity when that happens. I don't know, maybe I should keep it around for old time's sake. It's I mean, I really love this scent, and it's definitely been a journey, this one. The razor is stainless steel, timeless, 68 gap, open comb. It does have, as you can see, the ridges, the scalloping on the top cap. If you have the question about the scalloping on the base plate and the top cap, I didn't notice too much of a difference at all. I have tried all configurations. Visually, I thought I would like the scalloped base plate better, and so when I first got my first timeless, that's what it had. I was happy with it. But later on, I kind of changed my style, and I think I like the solid bar for both the top and the base plate. But it's an aesthetic thing, and it doesn't have anything to do with the feel or the use, because the solid bar and the scalloped, to me at least, were so close that it was really negligible, the difference. Okay, show you the blade, the Nacet. Little bend in the blade down here. 226 was the use number that happened. And then just maybe a week or two later is when, it's really funny, I had two kind of missteps with this blade in its kind of lifetime, and they both happened within just a couple weeks of each other. The use 226 was when I dropped the top cap, and it also had the blade in it, and the weight there is what put a bend in the blade when it hit the floor. I bent it back a little bit, continued using it. Then a few weeks later, I was using a butterfly type razor, and I inadvertently put in the blade backwards. Except for that one time, I have always had this side that has always had the Sharpie dots, if you look back at the old videos, or has the N and the 1, which is the etching right there. That always faces the handle. Just for grins. I did not do it for anything specific. I was curious. What if I just shaved with it all the same side? Would I learn something from that? And I've learned that it really doesn't matter about flipping your blade. Some guys do it religiously, according to a certain pattern. And hey, make yourself happy. If you want to flip your blade, however, for those people who would rather know whether it's beneficial, to whether they might want to know whether I should worry about it or I should make an effort to try to track it, that's what my answer is for. My recommendation is don't bother, don't worry about it. With all the blades other than the Nacet here, I just put them in randomly. Take them out of their wrapper, and I just, however they kind of land in my hand, that's how I put them in the razor. And so by that process, I statistically speaking, I'm usually going to have it 50-50 uses through the lifetime of the blade. All right. And we will do we did a slurry lather yesterday, and this soap base is awesome with a slurry lather. Today I'm going to do a bowl lather because as I was thinking about what I might do for the remaining days of the month, I kind of want to learn. I want to try some different things. That's a great exercise to do during Austere August as I get my face wet, is to experiment because you're taking away other variables. The soap is the same, the brush is the same, the shaving equipment is the same with the razor and stuff. And so let's change the process of lather building. That's a great thing to change and modify during Austere August because you've locked down those other variables. All right. So what I'm going to do is a bowl lather, but let's just see if there's some techniques we can do to try to get a little better bowl lather out of it. This OG tallow base from Chiseled Face just is not a great performer for me because compared to the existing soaps that are out there nowadays, because when I have it kind of as a creamy looking lather, when it feels too dry. So you add more water, right? Well, the creaminess starts to dissipate. The slickness starts to improve. So slickness is now growing, but the creaminess is going down. And then when I have enough water in it to where I like the slickness, okay, the slickness is now high, then creaminess is very low, and just a little more water and it kind of breaks up a little bit. So that little perfect juxtaposition, that overlap between those two vectors is where a lot of the soaps excel, even, and not necessarily the new ones, even like the Glissant base from Briar Man years ago was great at this. The Sterling beef tallow base for years now does a great job at this. That's why it's one of the best values in shaving, because you get so much product for your money, and it's a wonderful soap base where you can hydrate it a lot. Down in my little hand example, hydration was the left and right kind of axis there. And so your creaminess doesn't really drop off like the Chiseled Face does. Creaminess just keeps on going, and then slickness comes in with the hydration, and there's just this long period of overlap where you get both creaminess and slickness once you have all that water in place. All right, so let's get busy. Let's do some stuff. Loading, I loaded 30 swirls last time. It was too much. I ended up with excess. So maybe let's load for 20 this time. I'm going to start off with a nice saturated wet brush here in this yogurt container that for years I've used as a brush soaking cup. But this 28 millimeter knot is about too, almost too big for it. Okay, so when I pull it out, it's just soaking. So this is too much water for loading. It would just get really messy and that sort of thing. So let's just shake some of it out. And indeed, sometimes too much water in your brush can slow down the absorption process in the soap container. I've seen that happen where I just had a lot of water in it, and also with the tips being soft like these are, then somehow the water adds yet another amount of cushion to where the soap just isn't picked up quite as well, and we don't want that. All right, so let's do 20 swirls. One. Okay, that's 20. I'm curious. I do have a little bit of water, slurry water in the tub, so let's drip that down into my bowl. One of the myths that I want to work on in the future here is probably after Austere August is, I have to do it after Austere August because I want to compare brush sizes. And this thought of your brush, if it's big, will it eat more lather? Well, the answer that I'm starting out with, the answer that I believe is probably what I'm going to find out, is no. It can eat more lather if you don't homogenize your lather between the lather that's outside of your brush versus what's inside of the brush from your load. If you don't take time to equalize those two densities, then yes, you can start shaving when you still have more soap in your brush to work out. And then so you think, boy, this eats a lot of lather. No, it's just because it's not because of the size of the brush necessarily. It's because you did not take the time to or the effort to equalize it, to keep mixing, keep working on your face, whatever you wanted to do. I'm just going to trickle in some water. You know what? Let's work this for a little while without adding too much water, because I kind of don't want to do the same things I usually do, just because this base has already taught me what will happen. And so right now, for instance, with this base, I usually don't get too much of a gloss on it. It usually stays pretty matte in color. And we got a lot of micro bubbles and some that you can even see right now. And so it's kind of very airy. So what if and look, 20 seconds of load, 20 swirls of loading, and we've already got plenty of lather here. So if I spend a little time here without adding a lot of water to it, now maybe I add more water later, but will this step here give me some sort of creaminess that adding water too quickly might take away? So that's what I'm going to try out. That's what I'm going to think about here. You can vary your pressure. Sometimes get it down in there, because then you're pushing the lather and you're circulating the lather in and out of your brush. And then sometimes just kind of light pressure. Sometimes you don't have any pressure on the bottom at all, and that's doing more of a mixing option, a mixing action to the lather that's already been built up in your bowl. Now, if there's some secret, I almost want to take what you see here, hook it up to some kind of mechanism, like a blender. Hook the brush up to the blender to have it sit there and do this for half an hour, so that I can see if that mixing action will eventually turn this kind of airy lather into something more dense. Because I don't really want to, if it does take time, and if it does, how many swirls am I making right now? So I'd guess maybe in my normal process of putting together a lather, it might be a few hundred swirls, right? Well, what if 2,000 is like this magic point where all of a sudden the airiness gets mixed in and becomes this wonderful creamy, kind of thing. Well, I'm just not gonna, as a general rule, that's just not gonna be my goal, right? That's just not practical. It's good to know, but so then you'd work on, well, is there a way to achieve that without the 2,000 swirls? So your water is going to be a potential variable there. I'm going to start adding some more water now that it looks like it's not really changing too much. Your water is going to be another variable. When you add it, how much you add at a time. I tend, with my normal method, because it doesn't matter with most soaps, is to add a good bit of water up in the beginning. And then just mix until everything looks right. 20 swirls, and I'm concerned about this stuff overflowing. You can see how it's just coming up right up to the edge. You've got that little cave there. The lather is supporting itself, so it's definitely not like most of the other artisan makers where you can make it kind of creamy where it's falling all over itself. That takes more water. Matter of fact, why don't we push this guy with lots of water? I mean, why not? That's too much water. Let's back off a little. There we go. Why don't we just kind of, I know what's going to happen if I try to ride the balance, the middle of the road there, to try to have it have lots of water, to be slick, but not too much to where I lose my creaminess. I already know what happens there, so let's just kind of err on the side of more water. Will it somehow, with more mixing, will it make this more creamy? I know with Williams mug soap, the modern formula even, with I definitely experienced some kind of almost like some magic gateway where once I passed that point, the bubbliness and the airiness would disappear, and I had this super slick and luxuriously creamy lather. But I was never able to figure out exactly what method it took to produce it. I just know that most of the time when I achieved that, I had been working on the lather for like 30 or 40 minutes, and I just didn't want to keep taking that amount of time, especially with Williams not really being a super popular soap. And now, of course, it's been discontinued. Okay, now, not so much of a cave anymore. Look how that just kind of caved in, and it almost has a little bit of a sheen to it. I like the way it's behaving. Now, look how that's standing up on its own, that ridge I created. Let's push more water into it. I kind of feel like I'm going to not get an enjoyable lather, but that's what experimentation is all about. I've pushed water into this base before, and I've just ended up with a lather that was kind of broken and not super slick, and definitely not creamy. But maybe with all this water, and I provide this agitation here, maybe we can combine all those elements and increase the creaminess somehow. I can feel the weight of the lather. It's got more water in it now. Oh, look how, look at the way that moves. Now, with other soap bases like Mammoth, Barrister and Mann, Declaration Grooming, Summer Break, Sterling, those things, whenever I see it act that way, how fluid this is, then I know I'm at a sweet spot. That is where I want to be, because it's lightly creamy, it feels luxurious, but it's also super slick. So at this point, I believe I'm not really going to get a creamy feeling lather. So what I want to do is just spend a couple more minutes with the mixing, because somehow maybe this, it's worth a try. If you have never taken a lather to this point, where it's behaving like this when you lift it up, and how fluid it is, almost like melted marshmallow cream, if you've never done that, then give it a shot. I encourage you to, and see how you like the performance of the lather. Usually means it's very, very well hydrated. Definitely give it a try. Keep adding water until your lather looks like that, till it behaves like that. See if you like it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe that's the secret. Maybe lots of water, and then as the final step with the Chiseled Face base, tallow base here, is just give it some more time. Give it a few more minutes of agitation, of stirring. Maybe press down pretty hard for a little bit, back off, do some different types of movements. Could definitely tell you most lather bowls would not be able to handle this. This is an extra large version of the Roger Quintero 3D printed lather bowl, and I'm having a time containing everything and keeping it from going over. All right, that's kind of all the time I want to spend on it. And look at all that work, and you can still see some bubbles that just haven't been integrated. I don't think that is a good or bad thing. I think that's just the way it is. I almost think that if it was coming together more as a kind of creamy lather, that those bubbles would have disappeared. I don't know. All right. Ah, look at that. You see that peak right there? He's got movement. He's got it kind of his own weight. Okay, you know what? Yeah, see there's some wiggle in that ridge. I feel like going even further, pushing a little bit more water into it. And when I say a little more, I'm guessing I just put in about a teaspoon, which is a lot with this kind of lather. Two or three teaspoons used to be about what my lather needed. And that's with a starting amount in your brush that's not included in that 2 teaspoons of where the brush, I called it lightly wet. And then 2 or 3 teaspoons is usually all it took. And that usually was about a 0.4 grams of soap. Most formulations would do that, like Sterling and Barrister and Man. Holy Cow uses a lot more soap. I have to use a lot more soap with that one. And then the Chiseled Face Silk Tallow, I have to use 3 or 4 times my normal amount. You know what's funny? There's so much water in here that when I'm doing a circular mix on one side of the lather bowl, I see the ridges of the lather circulating around in the bowl like you might if you were stirring up eggs. And that just shows how much water there is in this. So it'll be interesting to see how the lather feels on my face and how it performs in terms of the kind of slickness it gives me. Oh, and it was finally too much there. As a matter of fact, let's use that for just kind of getting my face ready for the shave and enjoying the smell and all those things. Short strokes and sometimes quick strokes can, with the brush here in the bowl, can sometimes keep the lather more in the bowl than making it go out. All right, that's as much time as I want to spend on it. Also, the thinner the lather, the less bloom you're going to get in your knot. All right. Just see what we get. We added a lot of water in the lather today. I have not washed my face, so we are dealing with, essential oils of the day. And so the first pass of lather often has to take on those cleaning duties. And that affects sometimes how it looks and behaves and stuff. It's very light. It feels very airy. You can see that it's so wet that it's dripping around. It doesn't feel I think it'll be good. I think it'll be all right. And I've got a whole bowl full there. So I bet 10 swirls would be fine. Maybe even less. Wouldn't it be funny if the finally got to so little of a swirl that the thing just seemed to last forever? You know, the soap tub had that ring of death for just months and months, you know. When you have a collection of soap as large as mine, you don't get often the opportunity to kill a soap tub because your variety, and I have a large collection because I like variety. I don't have a lot of, I don't have any other hobbies really. So this is kind of my hobby, and so I love being able to kind of open up a drawer or look at a shelf and know that I have I can pretty much find whatever soap I feel like using in my inventory, you know. And it doesn't cost too much, especially if you buy on the used market, which most of mine are. And that's kind of my frivolous part of my daily life, is my excessive soap collection. Okay, that with the razor action felt very good, very slick. Right now, I feel a little bit of residual slickness on my face. That's actually good because a lot of times you rake it away and you don't get that. So, who knows? Maybe I have discovered the right kind of bowl lather for this chiseled face. I feel the backbone of the brush more with this method because the heavy water in there is not, it's not like soap. If there was dry soap between the bristles or kind of thick pasty soap between the bristles and the brush, then it would cause it to bloom and separate more. And you feel less of the backbone. But in my case, while I like lower backbone, I prize slickness more than the backbone feel. And so I'm going to go for that, whatever it takes to get that slick lather. Because to me, there's really no such thing as cushion in terms of a measurable, something to be concerned about. It's really all about slickness to me. And the slickness is what's going to protect you. I mean, in a way, cushion could just refer to viscosity, but with the slurry method, I've also shown that, you know, viscosity is really irrelevant to shaving performance. The hydration level is much more important. And so if you've got a creamy lather that has a higher viscosity, but it's holding on to its water really well, and then it's also high in its hydration, then it's going to give you a great shave. And so I could see then people saying that lather has more cushion. But who cares? It doesn't mean a better shave. It's just, it matches your preference, you know. And then, of course, you can add more or less water to change the cushion. And so any soap can have whatever amount of cushion you want. At least that's the way I see it. A little water now. 2 passes, and face is feeling good. First pass wasn't even really tuggy. Razor is moving well. Skin feels protected. When that blade edge can move across your skin because of the lubrication of your lather, when it can do that safely and closely to be able to cut the hairs well, that is slickness and that is protection. And so I think it's all wrapped up into one real variable. You can talk about cushion if you want, but it's almost the same. It almost belongs in the category of shaving attributes as scent, because it can be controlled by adding or lowering water, and you can make it according to your preference. It doesn't really equate to any part of the quality of the shave, at least to me. That just kind of came to me during this shave. I have spent some time thinking about cushion in the past. And I have thought about the fact that the priority should be slickness. But to kind of realize that, cushion is really independent of performance. That's kind of what dawned on me during today's shave. Got to go and check out my air conditioning unit. I think I might have a drain pipe to try to blow out with the shop vac. Closeness on my face I think is about right. I may do one more pass. I think that's 3. I have so much lather. Sure didn't look like very much on the brush, did it? After I loaded. Just laying down that thin layer across my face. If it's you can see, obviously it's thick in certain places, but if there are other places where it's really thin like that, then that's all the shave needs. I don't need to make it thick there. Oh, and this razor, I'm so happy with the way this is moving. Moving so easily. I think that is done. Don't need to do any more passes on my cheeks. Oh, and then I need to get that little patch right there. And there we go. Yeah, that's it for the shave. The shave is close enough. Nice close shave. Don't need to do any more touch-ups or anything like that. Let me get a good rinse off here. I've got another like 8 passes of lather in the bowl. You see how much hydration we're dealing with here? Look at that, gravity taking over. Okay, make sure that sometime push your own soap to this level of hydration and see if you like it. If this is a little too wet for you, then maybe go a little lighter with the hydration, but try something along this area and see what you think about it. You may discover a level of performance and just slickness that you didn't know before. And now the splash. And the cologne to complete the Midnight Stag Challenge. And I do kind of have to end abruptly today because I don't want to have to make my camera split the video up into 2 and I have to do the joining process. It's just a lot easier when I can just upload it right from my camera. So there we go. Today's shave, really cool experiment with adding tons of water. I'm happy I did that. I might do that again tomorrow. So this is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Thank you so much for watching. We'll keep going through August. Take care now.